Thank you everyone for coming. Thanks everyone for coming on a Sunday night. Baruch Hashem, we wanted to thank Naftali for coming down. I personally have benefited very much, even though you might not know, listening to the financial advice that I was given. I've put my life in order. I didn't know much, and then I listened to a lot of videos on the Kosher Money podcast. Free shout out, no sponsorship there. And Baruch Hashem, it really guided me in the direction. And then, of course, I read You Revealed when it came out. I got up to the section about the Sfirot. I got very confused, and I have a bookmark there that I open up every other week, and I'm slowly getting through that part. But that's like a good 100-something pages in, so I'm very proud of that. Since I last stood up here, Baruch Hashem, this is sponsored by Chazaq as always. I'm now part of the Chazaq team. So now I have a little bit of a conflict of interest. So Baruch Hashem, we do a lot of good work here at Shari Emunah, and we like to partner up with Chazaq on a lot of good events. But just to speak about Chazaq for a quick second, B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to be having our annual fundraiser in about a month. And just to talk about the amazing work that is done at the organization, that I, for one, maybe like others who aren't in the know, thought that we just organize some lectures. We have about 400, 500 a year in different communities throughout the states. And you might have thought they only do lectures. However, what I've come to learn early on and was able to see firsthand is the tremendous work done with the public school children in town. There are about 10,000 public school children just in Queens alone, Jewish children in Queens. And Chazaq is at the forefront of transferring such children to the yeshiva at about 200 a year. Of course, with more support and more staff, we'll be able to do much more. That's an average about one a day. So every day that Chazaq is working, on average, one child, Baruch Hashem, family transfers a child to yeshiva. And it's really tremendous work. They have after-school programming for teens that I was able to see firsthand. And I'm a little bit of a crier, but I didn't want to cry in front of the kids. I was very touched. I thought it was beautiful, and I hope to be able to result to see more in action. But B'ezrat Hashem will hear in a month or so. I'm sure I'm looking at everyone's faces to know who's going to support. And B'ezrat Hashem, I'll reach out. So I just want to thank our sponsor. We have the sponsor by the Nusano family, Baruch Hashem. I don't know where he is right now, but he's a big sponsor of ours, and he wanted to sponsor this beautiful shir tonight. The Refuah Shalema, Rachamim Menashe ben Tova, Abba Korn ben Yeshua, Bachor ben Rachel, Ofer ben Shoshana, Yitzchak ben Riva, Moshe ben Chana, Moshe ben Yafa, Rachamim ben Sima, Emmanuel ben Esther, Leah bat Rachel, Gola Sarah bat Simcha Marusya, Adina bat Sarah, Miriam bat Chedera, Rachel bat Sivya, Bechol bat Ketzia. And as you can see, any sponsorship, you can put as many names as you want. So next speech was at Hashem, you know, there's no minimum cost for how many names. We don't sell per name. Elila Nishmat, Ruben Ben, Davidu Mazal, Mazal bat Zilpa, Simcha Merusya bat Mazal. Okay, so thank you again for everyone for coming. I thank you for the Nisano family for sponsoring. Thank you for the Rav for coming. And B'ezrat Hashem, we'd love to hear the words from Naftali Horowitz. Thank you.
I always wondered if nobody showed up to a Chazaq event, I'd have to imagine they'd make me speak just for the camera. So I thank you all that I actually have a live audience tonight. So if you've read my book, you know that I've kind of been obsessed with the word of success since I was a little child. It's something I've studied, it's something I think about, it's something I meet people every day that are, quote, extremely successful. And I meet people that are extremely successful but extremely unsuccessful. And, you know, we live in a society where the word success is thrown around all day long, and people tell me, I want to be successful, I want to be successful, I'm not successful, I am successful, I wish I was successful. They honestly have no idea what they're talking about. They don't even really understand the definition of success. So if I'm standing at a funeral of a person who's being laid into the ground, a father, a grandfather, a great-grandfather, and I know that there isn't a single person there that's mourning the fact that he's finally not here anymore. And I really mean that, finally not here anymore. It's like almost a relief that he's not here anymore. Is there any way that we can ascribe the word success to this person? But what do you mean? everybody thinks he's successful. He's very successful. He has a private jet. He has everything you can ask for. People were running after him throughout his life, trying to have something to do with him. But yet I'm at that funeral and I'm watching him being lowered into the ground, and I know exactly what his children, his grandchildren are thinking at this moment, because they voiced it to me over the years. We can't wait till he's gone. So this is about the Torah's definition of success. And it's very hard because we have a world that screams this word at us every single day, everywhere we go. And as the Rambam tells us, this infiltrates our thinking, it infiltrates the way we use these words. And it also infiltrates what we're motivated towards and what we gravitate towards. And unfortunately, we sometimes don't have a clue of what we're talking about. So they left this lecture wide open for me to speak about whatever I want. It is the tagline of my book. We're gonna take a shot at it. So at the end of the day, everybody wants to be successful. And I think we all have an intuitive understanding of what exactly success is. Success is a life that was worth living. Success is leaving this world with your mark on this world, meaning that the world mourns that you're no longer here, that the world was a better place because you visited it for 120 years that you were here. We want to be a person who leaves a legacy. We want our children and our grandchildren to say, I named my daughter after, or my granddaughter after Bubby because we all want you to be like her. She was a person we looked up to, not for what she had, but for who she was. Right? We all intuitively understand that that's the definition of success. But to crystallize that, I thought about it a lot. And I write about this in my book. How do you define success? What is the definition of success? So Yiddishkeit, Judaism, rests on a single word. It's a word that permeates everything about us and really permeates everything about religion. And the difference between a person who believes in a creator and a person who does not believe in a creator, whether or not that person is Jewish or whether that person is a Gentile, whether you're Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, there are two types of people in this world. There are people who believe in the word purpose and the people that do not. If this world was created, it was created for a purpose. If this world was not created, according to the atheists, then the word purpose does not exist. The word purpose might be a figment of our imagination that we've created, but at the end of the day, there is no purpose for anything because life is a mistake. It's an accident. It's some freak evolutionary process that started with who knows what, and it will end at some point, and there is no eternity, and nothing really matters. So Judaism and all faith, anyone that believes there was a creator, believes in purposeful creation. And therefore, life has purpose. We have purpose. Everything we do has purpose. Everything that happens to us happens for a purpose. And we use this word constantly because we take it for granted that everything does have a purpose. And therefore, the definition of success can only be one thing: fulfilling the purpose for which we were each created. That's success. If my purpose in being created was to be the most, inspiring, poverty-stricken individual, if my purpose in creation was to be the most having a challenged life and bringing others up in the process by showing them how a human being can overcome challenges. If I'm the person who goes from issue to issue, tragedy to tragedy, downfall to downfall, and finds a way to get up. And when life is over, that person never got that break. Things never worked out for them. We kept rooting for them and we kept saying one day it's going to happen, one day things will turn around, and it never turned around, and it just never happened for them. And they left this world continuously trying, continuously having hope. Then society may say, oh, that person was never successful. Whereas Hashem looks down at that person and says, no, the purpose for which that person was created was exactly what they achieved. They are extraordinarily successful. Whereas the CEO of a massively successful public company who has a private jet and a yacht can leave this world utterly unsuccessful. And that is the only definition. It's living life the way God intended us to live life. That is our definition of success. Now we have free will. And we can adapt. We have the right, using free will, to adopt the world's success definition. It could be money, it could be fame, it could be honor, it could be popularity. It could be having lots of nice stuff and taking wonderful vacations and doing all kinds of things. And a lot of people are trying this. Unfortunately, the longer we stay in Galut, the more the world has decided for us what success is. But we know it's just not working. It's not working. I see it every day. You see it every day. It's not working for us. It's not working for anybody. We live in a generation today where there's more wealth, more possessions, more conveniences than any generation up until today. We're living longer. We have a quality of life that kings of prior generations couldn't even dream of. Running hot water, air conditioning, medical care, 5G, AI. You look at your phone, it turns on. It's unbelievable. But I'm an analyst. I work on Wall Street. And the drug industry is an industry I've always been fascinated by. So, you wouldn't be surprised because you notice intuitively that, the anti-anxiety and anti-depression medication industry is growing to the tune of 6 to 7% a year. 6 to 7% a year. The population grows by 2 to 3% a year. That means that 4 to 5% of people that weren't depressed last year or anxious are expected, we're expected to pick up another 25% of people that are taking medications. And that's only for legal drugs. I'm not talking about all the other statistics which you cannot find, which is all of the other things that people turn to try to numb their pain of emptiness and to try to dull away whatever's going on inside of their heads. Logically, we should be the happiest generation in history. We should be walking around smiling. We should be happy as can be. I mean, really, look what we have. And we know intuitively that it's just not happening. It's not happening. The world's definition of success, which is being opposed upon society, is not leading to the end result, which is happiness, fulfillment, contentment, and so on. And it should not come as a surprise. It should not come as a surprise because all of humanity has the same manufacturer. We don't come out of different assembly lines. Some of us are not Fords and some of us are not Range Rovers. We all come off the same exact assembly line. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created all of humanity. And all of humanity must define success and the purpose of living using the same manual. The same manual. The Chazaq says that Jews and non-Jews have the capacity to appreciate what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us. And the only way we can be successful is if we follow the manufacturer's intended purpose for our lives. So I ask this question to people all the time. They sit in my office, cry out all their problems. They tell me about their anxieties. They tell me about their depressions and all the other things. And I ask them, why were you created? For what purpose are you here? Mesilas Yesharim says that people spend their whole day thinking about nonsense. How will I pay my mortgage? How will I pay my credit card? Come on, Naftali, that's not nonsense. Of course it's nonsense in relation to what he says you should be thinking about. We spend our days thinking about all the things that are temporary, instead of asking ourselves the fundamental questions of, why am I here? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create me? That's what the Mesilas Yesharim says. And that's the most important question. How can you get up in the morning? How can you step foot out of your bed? How could you go out of the door of your house if you have no idea why you are here? It makes no sense. It's illogical. In my book, I use an example, which is so silly, but it's so true. It would be like going to the CEO of a company and asking him, what is your business? What business are you here for? How do you define success in this enterprise? And he has no idea. He gives you a list of everything that goes on inside the company. Let's take a financial firm. What do we do here? Well, we research, we trade, we send money out, we take money in, and we go through all the processes that we do inside a financial firm. And then you ask the CEO, okay, but why? What are you in business to accomplish? And he says to you, what do you mean? I just told you. We research, we trade, we send money out, we send money. I get it. That's what you do. Why do you do it? And every company has a mission statement. And believe it or not, you will not find in the mission statement of JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, or any other firm I've ever worked for, to make money. You won't find it. Every company has a mission statement. And nowhere in that mission statement is it going to say, we are in business to make money. Obviously, you're in business to make money. But why are you really in business? So when you look at a mission statement, you'll find it's going to have lofty ideas. Because people hate banks. The reality is we all hate banks, including the people inside the banks. We hate them too. But without a bank, none of you would own a home. Without a bank, there would be no credit cards. Without a bank, you have no place to hide your money and store it. You would have no way to earn interest. Without markets, the commerce would not take place. Companies could not open up because there would be no place to borrow. There would be no place to put your money. There would be no place to do payroll. They play an integral part of society. And in doing so, they build communities and so on and so forth. Now, these are very lofty goals. So if a company, which is trivial in comparison to a human life, has a lofty mission for which it does everything that it does, shouldn't it be logical that we do more than just wake up in the morning, brush our teeth, eat breakfast, go to work, pick our kids up from carpool, and so that's what we do. But why do we do it? Why? What's the purpose of it all? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bored. He creates a bunch of people that they can run around and do all these things all day long and he can watch and enjoy himself. If we have no idea why we're here as people, and we have no idea why we're here as individuals, how can we possibly succeed? You don't even know what the definition of success is. How do I know if I succeeded? Worse than that, how do we not get pulled in 100,000 directions? Why shouldn't we adopt the world's definition of success if we have no idea what success actually means? So in the absence of any definition, give me something to hold on to, because I have a whole life ahead of me and I need to fill up my time. So what am I supposed to be doing? So I'll look to somebody else and say, oh, let me see what he thinks is important, and I'll do whatever he thinks. But unfortunately, it only works for some time, and then we stop being motivated. We start getting burnt out. Burnt out. I used to hear people in their 60s, I'm burnt out. Now I hear people in their 20s, they're burnt out. 25, I'm burnt out. 28, I'm burnt out. How could you burn out at 28? You're still wearing training wheels. You're a baby. Burnt out. You know why we're burnt out? We're burnt out because our neshama is sitting inside and saying, what am I doing here? I came down from under the kisei hakavod for this life to be chasing the nonsense that the world has put in front of me? I once did this experiment. I had a bunch of kids in the room, and I made them all write a mission statement. I actually taught them how to do it. And we spent 2 hours doing it. It was unbelievable. I still get emails today. This happened about 5 years ago. Kids who tell me they take it out every single day to remind themselves of what they came to this world to achieve. And the most important part of it is that when somebody shows you something that doesn't make sense, because you know it doesn't make sense, because it doesn't fit your purpose in being here, you say no. If I went to my CEO and I said, hey, I got a great deal on shoes. We can make a killing on shoes. He's going to say, we're not in the shoe business. What are you talking about? We're a financial firm. People don't even know what business they're in. So they'll pull in every different direction because why not? And these kids tell me that since then, they see something and say, oh, we're doing this. I'm like, I don't do that. It's not in my mission statement. The reality is that Kadosh Baruch Hu put every single one of us here for a very, very specific purpose. There was a day when this world existed without each of us, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu said the world needs this person, and that person was created. And the reason why people are so down today is explained by the great Rebbe Yitzchak of Berditchev. He says that the root of depression is a person negating his bechira. A person has free will. You take a person and you imprison them. They will get depressed. You have enslaved them physically, emotionally, practically, from living life the way they choose. You take away a person's free will, which is the essence of a human being, that person will grow depressed and shrivel up and die inside. You could be walking around in the street, a free man or a free woman, and still be a slave. Still not live life the way you really would love to live life if society doesn't impose upon you their definition of life. But you have to. You have to fit in. Says Rav Levi Yitzchak, this is what depression comes from. When a person gives up his free will and does what everybody else does just because everybody else does it. So when we write something, we're writing something very personal and very individual. And I'm not kidding. I have a mission statement. It evolves over time. Because as life goes on, you find more talents, more capacity. But the reality is that the fundamentals of my mission statement has not changed since I was a young boy. But I know what it is. And I will say no to things 10 times and say yes to one thing and no to 9 other things because those things don't fit in. Let's spend the rest of our time talking about one important thing that must be in everybody's mission statement. There is Torah, which is life-changing. One of the most life-changing things I've ever learned is as follows. The son of Reb Chaim Volozhiner, in the introduction to Nefesh HaChaim, writes that his father would often rebuke him when he saw him failing to share in the pain of others. And he would constantly remind him that the purpose for which every person was created was not for himself alone, but to benefit others, each according to their ability. In other words, while every person has a different purpose, the overarching direction of that purpose is to change the world, is to impact the world, is to help other people. We all have different and varying capacities with which we can do that. But at the end of the day, we're all in the business of doing for others. There is no other business. It is the only mission, ultimately. It's how we get there. So why do we get up in the morning? We get up in the morning because the world needs us to get up in the morning. Our children need us, our spouses need us, our communities need us, the world needs us, our co-workers need us. We get out of bed because people need us. That's why we get out of bed. Even if we don't feel like getting out of bed, even if we're not in the mood to get out of bed, ask anybody who knows that people rely on them, they will get out of bed simply because someone else needs me to get out of bed. I wondered why. I always wondered, why did Reb Chaim Volozhiner say that the essence of life is to do for others? And then one day I found a series of essays which is worth reading on your own because I will not do it justice. From the Michtav Eliyahu for Reb Dessler. He has a series of essays called Kuntras HaChesed. And I'm going to give you some of his highlights. And in it, you'll understand why the fundamental purpose of life is to give. Reb Dessler says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a person with two competing faculties. The faculty to give and the faculty to take. When the Torah bestows upon humankind the title of Tselem Elokim, the image of Hashem, what the Torah is communicating is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the ultimate giver. Ramchal writes this in Derech Hashem. It's the reason for the whole purpose of the world, so that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can give. How does HaKadosh Baruch Hu give? He gives by us earning and becoming his recipients. And the way we do that, as we're going to see, is to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the ultimate giver. The definition of the ultimate giver is HaKadosh Baruch Hu because he gives with no need to take in return. In fact, we cannot give HaKadosh Baruch Hu anything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't lack. He doesn't need. There's no quid pro quo. There's no tit for tat. This whole concept that we're doing something for HaKadosh Baruch Hu is absolutely childish. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu invested a person, this sublime power, to be merciful, to bestow goodness, to share with others. And this builds the world. This builds friendships, this builds communities, this builds relationships, and so on. On the flip side, we have the koyach of Ra, koyach of darkness. Says Reb Dessler that all manifests itself in one word: taking. The faculty of taking is the faculty of ego, the faculty of selfishness, narcissism, and so on. It's the root of all evil. Now, society doesn't like takers. That's the reality. We frown upon them. The ultimate taker is a robber, a thief. Comes into your house, he steals, he gives nothing back in return. So we have rules, we have laws. You can't steal, you can't take what you want, you can't lie, you can't cheat. It's wrong, we'll lock you up. And that contains the taking in society for those that follow the rules. And those that think they can get away with it, they try to get away with it. And sometimes they're caught, and sometimes they're not. But says Reb Dessler, that doesn't mitigate the problem. It just takes the problem and makes it go undercover. Meaning, at the root, there's still a society of people who are, in essence, takers. They're just taking in a way that they don't violate the rules of society. And that's why the Mishnah says that we should daven for the benefit or for the health of the judicial system, because if not for that system, we would eat each other up alive. And who's the Mishnah talking to? The Mishnah is talking to every single generation. Because in every generation, at the root of the motivation of the majority of people who don't work on themselves is going to be, how can I get something for nothing? And this explains why, with all the advancements in sciences and medical and finance, we still have racism, we still have bigotry, we still have wars, we still have hatred. Society has not accomplished anything. We are still the same rotten race of human beings that we were 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago. So we don't go around the street clubbing each other, and we don't go on the street, killing each other because we're going to get caught. But once you remove the judicial system, and once people have the license to do whatever they want, a subset of them will still do whatever they want. Because nothing's changed. And we've seen this, unfortunately, in this country over the last number of years. So we still have all the violence and everything else. Listen to what Rav Dessler says, and it's scary. He says there's no middle way. A person's operating in one of two systems, either as a giver or as a taker. What do you mean? Come on, I've had this debate with 100 people, and I've debated it with myself. Come on, there's times when we give and there's times that we take. The answer is no. The answer is a person is either operating in a system of giving or in a system of taking. But you might ask, that makes no sense. If the world was a perfect place and everybody was a giver, who would they give to? Somebody would have to take, right? And the answer is, there's a difference between a taker and a receiver. A taker is someone that takes. A receiver is someone that receives. They're not the same word. Our purpose in coming to this world is to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Does HaKadosh Baruch Hu receive our tefillas? Absolutely. Does HaKadosh Baruch Hu receive our mitzvahs? Absolutely. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes nothing from us. We are going to find fulfillment and happiness when we are operating in a system of giving. The Satan is not stupid. He will try to infiltrate every single thing we do with thoughts of what am I going to get out of this? And he's going to insidiously weave himself into everything that we do. Our chesed, our tzedakah, our davening, our avodas Hashem, all with the mindset of what's in it for me. Do we ever operate in a purely altruistic fashion? Do we ever do things where nobody needs to know? I don't want anything in return. I'm doing this purely to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because that's the only form of Hakaras HaTov that I can show HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because as soon as it's something for me, then you're a taker. You can be a taker while you are a giver. You think you're giving, you're just taking. And we have to realize, says Reb Dessler, that taking will never make us happy. Ever. We think it will make us happy. It won't. And he explains why, which I think is also eye-opening. Why is it that when a person reaches for something, and we all know this to be true, as soon as they get it, it holds no value to them anymore. Right? And the most astonishing part is that we keep doing this over and over. And we don't learn that the day I get it, or 2 days after, or 3 days after, I won't care about it anymore, and I'll just want something else. Why is that? What's going on here? Right? It makes no sense. But we keep doing it. And listen to what he says. And this is something you can go home and ponder, but it's so unbelievably true. There's a difference between a person who has a physical need and a person who has a psychological need. So let's take a physical need. I'm hungry. Right? What will meet that hunger is finite. I don't have that big of a stomach. Whatever fills it up, I'm not hungry anymore. Right? And then when I get hungry again, I eat again. Now, there are people who eat just because they like to eat, and they'll fall into the other category. So if you're tired, you sleep. 8 hours later, 9 hours later, if you're lucky, you are not tired anymore. When a person wants something, but there is no actual need for it, he simply wants it because he wants everything. He's in a taking mindset. Why does he want that thing? There is no physical, practical reason that he or she needs it. Why do they want it? They want it because they don't have it. That's the only reason why they want it. It's outside of them, and they need to get it inside of them. It's there. I didn't know I needed it. Now I see it. I came across it online. My friend drove by in it. My friend's wearing it. And now I must have it. Why? Because it's there. Its entire allure, says Reb Dessler, is that it is there. As soon as it's here, it has no purpose anymore. Zero. It's ridiculous, but it's so practically true. Sometimes getting it, like the expression goes, be careful what you wish for, because then when you get it, you have it. And now that I have it, I don't need it anymore. So, says Reb Dessler that a person whose life is built on taking, he's not taking because he needs, he's taking because he is a taker. And each time he takes, he's getting himself more accustomed and more ingrained in taking. And the mashal that the Vilna Gaon says is a person who's thirsty and he keeps drinking salt water. And that's essentially why people, say Reb Dessler, become disillusioned with life. Because instead of switching over to the side of giving, instead of being a person who is appreciative and doesn't feel they deserve anything, and as soon as they are the recipient of something, their first thought is, how do I give back? As soon as HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them, they go, how can I give back? As soon as their friend brings them over something, they go, how can I pay you back? Because they are be'etzem a giver. And as a giver, they received, and right away they go back into giving mode. Whereas a taker says, now that I have this, how do I go take something else? So we can spend life on the side of happiness and fulfillment, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's intended purpose for us, or we could spend life in taking mode. So let's be practical for a minute, and then we'll end. A few weeks ago, I was speaking in Toronto, and on Shabbos, I had this idea. Somebody asked me afterwards where it says it, and I said, it doesn't say it anywhere. It's my idea, but I think it's obvious. What was so great about Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu. Yes, he was born, the place lit up. But Moshe Rabbeinu had to earn his status as Moshe Rabbeinu. And nowhere does it really say what he did. That one day HaKadosh Baruch Hu pierced him in a burning bush. HaKadosh Baruch Hu never appeared to me in a burning bush. And if he did, I wouldn't be telling you about it because he'll have me committed. What led up to that? So if you look at the parasha, you'll see it exactly. The first thing Moshe Rabbeinu did was he got out of his ivory tower. Moshe Rabbeinu grew up in the lap of luxury. He was the adopted son of the princess. They could have very easily said, what's going on out there is not my problem. I don't lack anything. I have servants, I have food, I'm warm, I'm comfortable. It's not my problem. So what's the first thing the parasha says? He went out to see what was going on with his brothers. He left his mansion and he walked amongst the people. That's the first thing. What's the second thing Moshe Rabbeinu did? He noticed a Mitzri hitting a Jew. And what's the third thing that he did? He intervened. He did something about it. Amazing. That wasn't enough. Very good, Moshe Rabbeinu. You get 25 points, but you're not there yet. What's the next thing that happens? He intervenes a second time when Dasan and Aviram are beating each other up. And what do they say to him? Mind your own business. Mind your own business. Stay out of my life. You're going to do to us what you did to him? We know all about it. Does Moshe Rabbeinu mind his own business? No, he doesn't. What happens next? He gets kicked out of Mitzrayim because of that. He gets thrown out of the palace. And he finds himself all alone, a pauper in Midian. And you'd think he learned his lesson, right? I stuck my neck out. I minded other people's business. I didn't listen to them. Now here I am. I lost everything. And what's the first thing he does? He intervenes for Yisro's daughters. He intervenes again. Because Moshe Rabbeinu was a giver. You cannot take giving out of the giver. And he demonstrated Mesiras Nefesh. I'm willing to give it all up. But I cannot stand by and watch somebody being hurt or being taken advantage of. It is my business. The fact that you're here tonight proves that you have what others need. We're living in a world of turmoil. Everybody needs something, and we have what they need. And there are people who walk around thinking, I have nothing to offer. Nothing. I'm not special. I don't have a lot of money. I'm not very talented. In the words of Reb Nachman of Breslov, these words are true for every single human being who's walking around with a pumping heart. If you're on this world, it's because the world needs you. And there are people that need you right here, right now, today. Whether it's your money, whether it's your companionship, your friendship, a cup of coffee, a phone call. Everybody knows people that are struggling. And just because each of us are struggling is not an excuse for us to become insulated inside of our own problems. I just was reading something the other day about what they call the loneliness epidemic. It's an unbelievable thing. And they actually study this, how lonely this generation is. We are the most connected generation, but we're the most lonely generation. Nobody has time for anybody. Nobody has time to listen to people. Nobody has time to care about people. Nobody has time to spend time with people just to spend time with people. And people are becoming more insulated, more depressed, more anxious as a result. There's no greater chesed in the world than just to take up the phone and call somebody that you know is going through stuff. Take them out for lunch. Take them out for a coffee. Just walk around the block with them and say, I know you're going through a lot. I'm here to listen to you. We don't do it because we feel that's going to obligate us to help them. It's not true. Anybody will tell you that just the fact that you took the time to listen to me was unbelievable. We have to learn to give for the sake of giving. Quietly, no fanfare, not to tell anybody that we did it, not to make a public spectacle. We don't have to win an award and we don't have to be honored. We could do things the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu does it, b'hasnei leches. So I encourage you all to walk out of here and think about the question of why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? Perhaps go as far as sitting down in a room and writing out some kind of mission statement for what your life is about. The world needs more givers and a lot fewer takers. And we, who stood at Har Sinai and received the Torah and have a direct chain of understanding of the purpose of life, are the ones that have to show the world why everybody's here. Have a great evening.